Today I'm doing something I don't usually recommend: choosing. 4 American towns. One is beautiful. One is rich. One is cheap for reasons you should question. And one is growing so fast it hasn't noticed the problems yet. Using real data, no nostalgia, and zero sugarcoating, if I had to choose one of these 4 towns to live in, this would be it. And yes, someone's going to be mad.
Marion, Ohio is one of those towns you don't hear about unless you're already there, and even then, people don't talk about it much. Not because it's dangerous in a headline-grabbing way, not because it's exciting, and not because it's thriving. Marion exists in that uncomfortable middle space where nothing dramatic is happening, but nothing hopeful is either. This is small-town Midwest America after the factory jobs left and never really came back. On paper, Marion looks tempting. Homes are cheap, really cheap. You can buy a house here for what a down payment costs in most growing cities. Rent is low, taxes are manageable, and if your only goal in life is to spend as little money as possible on housing, Marion starts to look like a smart financial decision. And that's exactly where the problem begins, because cheap is never the full story. Cheap is a symptom. Marion used to be an industrial town, like so many others across Ohio. Manufacturing once gave this place purpose, identity, and a steady flow of middle-class jobs. But those jobs faded. The population peaked decades ago, and ever since then, Marion has been slowly shrinking. Not collapsing overnight, not imploding in a dramatic way, just quietly losing people year after year. Young adults grow up here, graduate, and leave. Those who stay usually do so because they have to, not because they chose to. The job market is limited, and that's putting it kindly. There are jobs, yes, but they're mostly low-wage, service-based, or tied to logistics and warehousing. If you're looking for career growth, professional networking, or upward mobility, Marion is not interested in helping you. This is not a place that pulls people forward. It's a place that keeps them exactly where they are. Crime in Marion isn't shocking, but it's consistently higher than what you'd expect for a town this size. Property crime is the bigger issue, and while violent crime isn't off the charts, it's present enough to matter. This isn't a town where you panic, but it's also not a town where you feel especially comfortable walking around late at night. It's that uneasy middle ground again, where things aren't terrible, but they're also not reassuring. Downtown Marion tells the story better than any statistic ever could. There are historic buildings, old storefronts, and clear signs that this place once mattered more than it does now. Some revitalization efforts exist, and every few years there's a new plan, a new vision, a new promise that things are turning around. But progress here is slow, fragmented, and often temporary. A coffee shop opens, a small business tries, then another one closes. Momentum never fully sticks. Social life in Marion is limited, especially if you're under 50. There's not much nightlife, entertainment options are thin, and cultural events are few and far between. This is a town built for routine, not excitement. People go to work, go home, and repeat. If you thrive on energy, creativity, or new experiences, Marion will feel suffocating very quickly. Now, to be fair, Marion isn't trying to be something it's not. It's not pretending to be trendy, hip, or on the cutting edge. There's a certain honesty in that. If you value familiarity, quiet streets, and a slower pace of life, you might find Marion tolerable. Some people do. But tolerable is not the same as good, and it's definitely not the same as promising. The biggest issue with Marion isn't crime, or jobs, or even population loss. It's trajectory. Marion doesn't feel like a town preparing for the future. It feels like a town managing decline, trying to stay comfortable while slowly shrinking. There's a difference between stability and stagnation, and Marion leans heavily toward the latter. So yes, Marion is affordable. Yes, you can live here cheaply, but you pay for it in opportunity, energy, and long-term prospects. This is not a town that gives much back, unless your expectations are already very low. Marion isn't the worst place in America, not even close, but it is one of the clearest examples of a town that's quietly falling behind, and doing it so slowly that people barely notice. Marion, Ohio doesn't scare people away, it just doesn't give them a reason to stay.
Fayetteville, Arkansas is not supposed to work as well as it does. On paper, it's just another southern college town tucked into the Ozarks.
but in reality, it's one of the few places in this group that actually feels like it's moving forward. While a lot of small American cities are busy trying to survive, Fayetteville is growing, attracting people and slowly changing into something bigger than it used to be. A huge part of Fayetteville's identity revolves around the University of Arkansas, and unlike many college towns that feel empty the moment students leave, Fayetteville stays alive year-round. The university brings jobs, culture, sports, and a steady flow of young people, and that energy spills out into the rest of the city. You feel it downtown, you see it in new developments, and you notice it in the population numbers that keep going up. Compared to most growing cities in the US, Fayetteville is still relatively affordable, but that window is closing. Home prices have risen fast, rents are climbing, and longtime residents are starting to feel the pressure. This is what growth looks like in real life. It's exciting if you're new, it's uncomfortable if you've been here for decades. Fayetteville hasn't fully decided which group it wants to prioritize yet, and that tension is becoming more visible every year. The job market here is stronger than you'd expect for a city this size. Between the university, healthcare, logistics, tech-adjacent roles, and the broader Northwest Arkansas economy, there are real employment options. You're not limited to just service jobs or warehouses. And for young professionals or people early in their careers, Fayetteville offers something that places like Marion simply can't: momentum. This is a city where opportunities exist, even if they're not evenly distributed. Crime in Fayetteville is not a major selling point, but it's not a deal breaker either. Violent crime remains relatively low, and most issues fall into the category of property crime, often tied to student areas. This is not a city that feels dangerous, but it's also not one that's completely carefree. Like many growing places, it's figuring things out as it goes, and the data reflects that awkward middle phase. What really sets Fayetteville apart is quality of life. The Ozark Mountains aren't just background scenery, they're part of daily life. Trails, parks, lakes, and outdoor activities are everywhere, and they attract people who want more than just work and sleep. The city feels active, people are outside, there's movement. That matters more than most people realize. Culturally, Fayetteville punches above its weight. There's live music, local food, breweries, festivals, and a downtown that actually feels used. It's not pretending to be Austin or Nashville, but it also isn't stuck in the past. Fayetteville is comfortable experimenting, changing, and occasionally getting it wrong. That's usually a good sign. Of course, growth comes with problems. Traffic is getting worse, infrastructure is playing catch-up, housing supply hasn't kept pace with demand, and the city is starting to feel growing pains that it wasn't designed to handle. Fayetteville used to be easy, now it's getting crowded. That's not necessarily bad, but it is a shift, and not everyone is happy about it. There's also a cultural divide slowly forming between the old Fayetteville and the new one. Longtime residents sometimes feel like the city they knew is slipping away, replaced by newcomers, higher prices, and a faster pace of life. Meanwhile, new residents see opportunity, energy, and possibility. Both sides are right. That's the cost of being desirable. Fayetteville isn't perfect, and it's not cheap anymore by Southern standards, but unlike many towns its size, it has a future that feels tangible. This is not a place managing decline or desperately clinging to nostalgia. It's actively becoming something else, even if that transformation is messy. If you're looking for a place with energy, opportunity, and room to grow, Fayetteville stands out in this group. It's not the safest, not the cheapest, and not the quietest, but it offers something far more valuable than any of that: direction. Fayetteville, Arkansas doesn't promise an easy life, it promises a moving one.
Decorah, Iowa is one of those places that feels like a surprise. You don't expect it, you don't plan for it, and when you finally see it, your first reaction is usually disbelief. This is Iowa, after all, and yet Decorah looks more like a postcard from Europe than a town in the Midwest. Rolling hills, bluffs, rivers, trails, historic buildings, and a level of charm that feels almost suspicious. Decorah doesn't just look nice, it looks curated, like someone went out of their way to make it beautiful. The town's strong Norwegian heritage plays a big role in that atmosphere. It's visible in the architecture, the festivals, the museums, and even in the way the town presents itself. Decorah has leaned heavily into its identity, and it works. People visit, people take pictures, and people say things like, "I could live here," and that's where reality starts to quietly step in. Decorah is small, and it feels small. The population has remained relatively stable over the years, which sounds like a good thing until you realize what it really means. It's not growing, but it's not shrinking either. It's simply holding on. That stability creates calm, predictability, and safety, but it also limits opportunity. This is not a place where new industries are rushing in or where job listings are endless. Decorah's economy is modest, local, and heavily dependent on education, healthcare, tourism, and small businesses. Crime in Decorah is low, which is one of its strongest selling points. This is the kind of town where people feel comfortable leaving their doors unlocked and walking around at night without thinking too much about it. Safety here is real, not just advertised. For families, retirees, and people tired of chaos, that sense of security is incredibly appealing. The cost of living in Decorah is reasonable, but not as cheap as you might expect for a small Iowa town. Housing prices reflect demand from people who want exactly what Decorah offers: beauty, quiet, and character. The problem is that while homes aren't outrageously expensive, wages often don't match the cost. If you're not working remotely or coming in with savings, making the numbers work can be more challenging than it looks. And then there's the weather. Decorah's winters are long, cold, and unforgiving. Snow piles up, temperatures drop hard, and the charm of a cozy small town wears thin after months of gray skies and icy roads. Locals will tell you it's not that bad, but locals always say that. Winter is part of the deal here, and it's a deal you have to truly accept, not just tolerate. Social life in Decorah is quiet and intimate. People know each other. Word travels fast. There's a sense of community that feels genuine, not forced, but it also means privacy is limited. This is not a place where you disappear into the crowd. If you like being anonymous, Decorah will slowly remove that comfort from your life. What Decorah does exceptionally well is quality of life. The outdoor access is incredible for a town this size. Hiking, biking, kayaking, and scenic views are all woven into daily routines. Life here feels slower, more intentional, and less chaotic than most parts of the country. That's the magic of Decorah, and it's real. But magic has limits. If you're young and ambitious, Decorah can feel restrictive. If you're looking for career advancement, cultural variety, or fast-paced change, this town will feel like it's holding you back. Decorah doesn't reward urgency, it rewards patience. Decorah, Iowa is not a place you move to by accident. It's a place you choose because you want peace, beauty, and stability more than growth, excitement, or opportunity. For the right person, it's close to perfect. For everyone else, it eventually starts to feel too small. Decorah doesn't promise more. It promises enough.
Los Alamos, New Mexico is one of the strangest towns in the United States, not because of how it looks, but because of how it functions. This is a place built for a very specific purpose, and everything else comes second. From the beginning, Los Alamos was never meant to be normal. It was designed to be isolated, controlled, and focused, and decades later, that DNA is still deeply embedded in the town. On paper, Los Alamos looks incredible. Median household income is among the highest in the country. Education levels are off the charts. Crime rates are extremely low. If you only look at the data, this seems like a perfect place to live. Safe, wealthy, educated, and quiet. But data doesn't tell you what it feels like to live somewhere, and Los Alamos feels different in a way that's hard to ignore. The entire town revolves around Los Alamos National Laboratory. That's the economic engine, the social center, and the unspoken gatekeeper. If you work at the lab, life here makes sense. If you don't, it quickly becomes clear that you're on the outside. The job market is strong for scientists, engineers, and highly specialized professionals, but extremely limited for everyone else. This is not a diversified economy. It's a single-purpose town wearing the mask of stability.
Housing in Los Alamos is one of its biggest contradictions. Despite being relatively small and isolated, home prices are high, inventory is limited, and competition is fierce. You're paying premium prices not for luxury, but for access. Access to good schools, safety, and proximity to the lab. For many newcomers, the cost feels disconnected from the lifestyle, and that disconnect creates frustration fast. Socially, Los Alamos is quiet, very quiet. Nightlife is minimal, entertainment options are scarce, and most social interaction revolves around work, family, or carefully planned activities. This is a town where people schedule fun weeks in advance, and even then, fun is a generous word. If you're introverted, focused, and content with routine, this environment can feel peaceful. If you crave spontaneity, creativity, or variety, it can feel isolating. Crime is rarely part of the conversation here, and that's one of Los Alamos' strongest advantages. People feel safe, and that sense of safety is real. Kids walk to school, neighbors trust each other, and the town operates on an assumption of order. But safety alone doesn't create vibrancy, and Los Alamos often feels like a place optimized for efficiency rather than enjoyment. The physical setting is beautiful in a quiet, restrained way. Surrounded by mesas, forests, and high desert landscapes, Los Alamos offers excellent access to nature. Hiking, skiing, and outdoor recreation are readily available, but even the outdoors here feels controlled and subdued. This is not a wild or chaotic place. It's measured, thoughtful, and slightly sterile. One of the most noticeable things about Los Alamos is how homogeneous it feels, not just demographically, but culturally. People tend to think alike, live similarly, and follow predictable paths. There's a comfort in that uniformity, but also a lack of friction, and friction is often where culture grows. Los Alamos doesn't challenge you socially, it insulates you. For families, Los Alamos can be an excellent place to live. Schools are strong, neighborhoods are safe, and the pace of life is manageable. But for singles, creatives, or anyone outside the scientific bubble, the town can feel limiting very quickly. It's not unwelcoming, it's just not built for you. Los Alamos offers stability in a way few places can, but stability can easily slide into stagnation if you're not careful. Life here is predictable, controlled, and safe, but also narrow. The town doesn't evolve quickly because it doesn't need to. Its purpose has already been defined. Los Alamos, New Mexico doesn't ask who you want to become, it asks what you already are.
So there you have it. 4 towns, 4 very different realities. Marion, Ohio, cheap but quietly fading, a place that reminds you that not every small town survives. Fayetteville, Arkansas, growing, full of energy, but slowly pricing out the people who made it great. Decorah, Iowa, beautiful, peaceful, and stable, but limited unless you work remotely or have patience for slow life. And Los Alamos, New Mexico, rich, safe, and insulated. Perfect if you're a scientist, miserable if you're not. Choosing a place to live isn't just about houses or schools, it's about opportunity, energy, and whether a town matches the life you actually want to live. Each of these towns offers something, but also takes something away. There's no perfect answer, only trade-offs, and in America, those trade-offs are more obvious than ever. If I had to pick one of these 4 towns for myself, I would have to pick Fayetteville, Arkansas. Not because it's perfect, not because it's cheap, not because it's quiet, but because it's still moving forward. The others, they each have their charm, but they're either frozen in time or slowly drifting backward. Growth beats comfort, at least most of the time. Now